So this is going to ruffle some feathers, but today we are talking about yet another NHL center target who has been labeled on the market. Yeah, it is Edina, Minnesota native Casey Mittelstadt out of the Boston Bruins. And I know what some of y'all might be thinking, wait a minute, Lego, what? Why are we talking about Middlestad as a gosh darn trade candidate, trade target, trade chip? This guy was just traded over to the Boston Bruins. And if you were to go out there and say that, yes, you would absolutely be correct. Casey Mittelstadt, 26 years old, former top 10 pick in the 2017 NHL Entry Draft, is signed on to a contract which sees him making $5.75 million till the end of 26-27. He was, at one point, considered to maybe being some sort of a Patrick Kane light-esque guy, 6'1", 196, so he's a little bigger than Kane. But in his draft-eligible years and his prospect development, he was so good. Just a quick-handed, puck-handling, shifty guy who could produce a heck of a ton of points. He was super good at the World Juniors in his Draft +1, and he was under a point per game with Buffalo upon making his short debut with that team over there. Give it a few seasons, and Casey Mittelstadt inevitably stoked himself up to 59 points in 82 games played. That was the peak of his NHL productivity year by year. Things started to look okay the next season. I mean, 47 points in 62 games, that's not bad in the slightest, but it was so good that you could say. But the guy needed a contract, and there was already a bunch of ideas over the past few years floating around as to whether or not he'd be interested in staying in Buffalo. This is why he got traded over to Colorado, had 10 points in 18 games over there, also had 9 points in 11 games in the postseason. Admittedly, pretty strong production. At the end of 23-24, Casey Mittelstadt wrapped up the year and ended up signing the contract that he is on right now. $5.75 million, as we had talked about. The contract was signed on June 25th, so shortly after that season with Colorado came to an end. I think the $5.75 million is actually pretty reasonable for what he was able to do in this short little stint. Hey, the guy was a point per game in the playoffs, and he was doing some pretty good things. The season after, though, things took a little bit of a downturn. Mittelstadt had only scored 34 points in 63 games played, and around this time we started to see some more of those warts in his game starting to show. Whether or not Mittelstadt was actually fitting in with the Colorado Avalanche to the best of his ability was up in the air. And some of these things were also points brought up by Sabres fans watching this guy develop over the past few years he had over there. Hey, he looks good some nights, doesn't look great all nights, and you just kind of have to question which version of Mittelstadt you're getting in any given moment. This uncertainty led to Mittelstadt getting traded over to the Boston Bruins, wherein the Colorado Avalanche acquired Charlie Coyle and a 5th-round pick. It was a pretty big deal, I would say. A lot of folks would have been surprised to have seen Mittelstadt get traded in such short notice, but here's the deal as it went down on March 7th, 2025. The Boston Bruins received Casey Mittelstadt and William Zellers, not to mention a 2025 second-round pick, in exchange for Charlie Coyle and a 2026 5th-round pick. That was the deal, and it was a pretty big one. Zellers heading over to Boston, Mittelstadt and the second, but the reason we are making this video here today is because of a new report that actually has Mittelstadt as an NHL trade option one more time. This guy literally went from Buffalo to Colorado to Boston in the span of over a year, and now he could be traded again? Let's go over to our source here. So we're heading over onto James Murphy's article from August 10th, 2025. This was written and published on rg.org. It'll be linked in the description. And it talks about how Casey Mittelstadt's Boston Bruins future is in question amid trade buzz. Here are the key takeaways from this article. Trade rumors continue to surround the Boston Bruins, with Joonas Korpisalo and Pavel Zacha's name consistently coming up. However, another Bruins player in Casey Mittelstadt could potentially be on the move, according to sources. I've been hearing Casey Mittelstadt could be on the move again since before the Bruins season even ended, an NHL executive told RG.org. Okay, so this guy gets sent over to Boston, and within weeks, there are already new rumors saying, hey, this guy could be on the move again. Boston could be trading away Mittelstadt. They could be losing out on Korpisalo. They could be trading away Zacha. They could be trading away this dude. Let's dive into the scoop as proclaimed by an anonymous NHL executive. I don't know how many rumors he's been in, but I've been hearing Casey Mittelstadt could be on the move again since before the Bruins season even ended, an NHL exec told RG. There was a common feeling that he wasn't their main target when they traded for him. Zellers and the second-round draft pick were. Bruh. Buddy, are you absolutely kidding me, bro? The Boston Bruins made the trade for Casey Mittelstadt, Zellers, and a second, and you're saying that the prospect William Zellers was the main reason they made the trade? Not because, we're getting Casey Mittelstadt, a top 10 pick, a guy who had so much potential, he's all this and he's that and everything. No, we care about the prospect. We care about Will Zellers and his North Dakota projection heading into the next few years. Now, to be fair, to be completely fair to the Boston Bruins, Will Zellers, pretty good prospect here. Third-round guy by the Colorado Avalanche in 2024, 5'10", 176, 19-year-old forward who just came off of a 71-point campaign in 52 games played with the Green Bay Gamblers. This guy was drafted out of Shattuck St. Mary's U18 prep school, where he had 111 points in 54 games. That's an incredible number. He was so productive. He was so good. But he's playing for the USHS Prep School League, so that's why he went in the third round. We are now starting to see what he's able to do against other junior competition. He dominated the USHL with the Gamblers, and now he'll be taking his talent over to the North Dakota University Fighting Hawks. We'll see whether or not Zellers is going to be all that and more. But I guess the Bruins are really taking it to heart when they say they want to get younger, they want to get these guys that can project into the long-term future. Casey Mittelstadt, you can debate whether or not he's actually in that boat. Will Zellers? Yeah, no, he's pretty much in it right in there. So this source is going out there and saying that Mittelstadt could be on the move one more time because the Boston Bruins, when they traded for Mittelstadt, they didn't even care about Mittelstadt. They just wanted Zellers in the second. It should be noted that RG heard the same thing when the Bruins acquired forwards Middlestad and Zellers and a 2025 second from the Avalanche in exchange for Coyle, just before the 2025 trade deadline. I know their amateur scouts were hell-bent on getting Zellers, the executive above added. They were intent on restocking with picks and prospects, and he was one of the prospects they were really targeting. That was a great get by the Bruins, and I think Sweeney did a great job at the deadline and at the draft in achieving their goal. That being said, where or how does Middlestad fit into their plan going forward? Here is another quote. I think a lot of teams have been and are expecting the Bruins to flip Middlestad at some point, but where's his value at right now if that's the case? They may just see how it goes this season. Maybe he reshapes his value, and if they're out of it again at the next trade deadline, then they move him and parlay him into another pick or a prospect. So, at the end of the day, of course, I am a Canucks, a Canadiens, and a Red Wings fan. I have teams that I like that need centers, and Casey Mittelstadt is a center. Is this guy going to be a target for any of these teams looking to upgrade their center core? Might I remind you, he was just a few years away from being highly productive and scoring 57 points in, 80 games played, 59 points in 82 games played. He plays a very skilled base game, and he hasn't really been able to fully capture an NHL season just yet, but he's 26 years old, and you can say that there still is that profile inside of him. So is that enough? Could you see a Casey Mittelstadt trade, and where do you think a prime destination could be? Not saying that any of these teams are guarantees, but I just wanted to toss it out there. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Casey Mittelstadt and the Boston Bruins wanting to send him away. I hope you enjoyed this Vidashashros 99, and bye.